Good all, welcome back to South Africa, and this is South African Prepper. So for this video, it's all a lie. In order to explain this to you, I'm going to tell you a little story. Sorry for that. And the story you would know quite well. So the story is about a big king. The big king has a big castle, a lot of rooms, a lot of children, and the king owns hundreds of thousands of hectares or acres of land. And on this land, he's got hundreds of thousands and maybe even a few million people living on this land. And for them to be able to live on this land, they must give the king 10% of their produce or income every single year. So one day, the small king, that's a neighboring kingdom from the big king, sends him a letter and says there's pieces of land that is actually mine, and you need to give it back, otherwise we're going to make war with you. So the big king says, well, it's my land, let's then make war. So the big king sends out a message to everybody in his kingdom saying that if you're able-bodied man, young and old, you need to go to training camp. You need to learn how to use a sword, use a shield, use the spear, use the bow and arrow. We are going to war to defend our country. So off they go to war. Many men from both sides die during this war, but the big king then actually wins the war and then takes the little king's land. So let's translate this to 2023 or to the 2000s. You finish school and then you go to college or university. In order for you to further your education, you need to go take a study loan. And then you finish your 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 year studies, whatever, depending on what you've gone to study. Once you finish studying, you start your first job. And when your first paycheck comes in, you have to start to pay back your study loan. So after many years of toiling and working hard, day after day, Monday to Friday, you eventually pay off your study loan. And now suddenly you have met the love of your life. You marry her and suddenly you need a bigger house, a bigger car, because you have got 1 or 2 or 3 babies on the way. And you go take out a loan again in order for you to buy a house, buy a bigger car maybe, and actually look after your family. So as you can see, 2 different stories from 2 different times of history, but they actually are all the same, because the system is designed in such a way to actually enslave you. Now there are different forms of slavery that one can find, and in 2023 or in the 2000s, the interest rates, loans, are a way of slavery. Things have become so damn expensive, and they call that inflation, which is also another lie. Things have become so expensive that no normal person can buy a house or even a car in South Africa cash, unless you've saved many years. Most vehicles on the road and most houses today have got a loan or a mortgage bond or a home loan bond at some kind of a bank somewhere in South Africa. And this has always been a way of enslaving people. The other day we're driving on the N1. The South Africans will know this, between Pretoria and Johannesburg. And I had a French child with me, and he said to me, why are the people not smiling? Because they drive these nice fancy cars, but they look so unhappy. If I drove a car like that, I would have smiled all the way. And the easiest and the honest answer I could give this young man is that they actually are in debt. They own a bank, the money every single month, in order for them to drive that fancy big car. And that is a way of slavery, modern day slavery, that they have imposed upon the world's population. They don't need to make war to enslave people or to actually threaten people. They just make sure that they give them enough shit, gadgets, stuff to buy and to want to buy, because you can have a lot of stuff, but you need to create a demand for it. So you create something that everybody wants, and everybody wants that new iPhone, but I can't afford it, so I go take out a loan for it because my friends have got the newest iPhone or the newest vehicle or the biggest house, and that's all a big fat lie. Now it's very interesting because you will find very few people in the world that has got no debt. And the people that have got no debt can actually not get more debt. Maybe some of you can tell us, because remember the first time you went to buy a car, they said to you, well, you've got no credit history, so you can't get more credit. I still remember that, more than 20 years ago. You can't get credit because you have no credit, so we've got no credit record of you. We don't know if you're a good payer or a bad payer, so we cannot give you credit. So the whole system that we're currently living in the world is exactly the same system that used to be in the Roman Empire. And look at where the Roman Empire is today. So we are certainly very, very close to a collapse, a system collapse in the world, because everything has got a cycle, and this cycle of the US dollar and the cycle of the system that they've created after World War II, where they just keep on printing money. And that's the second lie, is money. Printed money is a lie, because printed money, who actually decides what the worth of that printed money is? Governments can print as much money as they like. If the South African government wants to print as much as they like, who's going to stop them? Who's going to determine the worth? And the worth of the money is actually determined not by demand and supply like we've been taught. It is actually determined by the kings of this world and by the banks of this world that work for the kings of this world. They determine the worth. They determine inflation needs to go up every single year. And when inflation goes up every single year, more and more people get enslaved on the system of debt. And this is how they wage war against us normal people. They wage a slavery war against you because they want you to be in debt so you can work for them for the rest of your life. Remember 2020? When your government, and this is all governments around the world, they decided that we all need to be locked up because we're all going to die. And they actually lied to us. They've got so much control over our lives that we actually all listened. We listened for a bit and then we stopped listening because we realized something is not on. And that's how much power these people have. That's how much control they have in this world over the systems, that they can tell your government, every single government in this world, at the same time, at the same date, let's close down our countries. That's power. And these kings and kingmakers and kings of this world, they love that power. And they want to keep you like this the whole time. So how do you get away from the kings and the kingmakers and the banks and big corporates, pretty much all the same people that are controlling the game? You have to become self-sufficient. You have to understand that you do not need the government. Okay, taxes, when you pay income tax or VAT tax or petrol levy tax, okay, that is money that you worked for, that goes to the government. You are funding the government. Okay, so I'm flabbergasted, and I don't understand it. People get angry at the government. You vote for the government. You pay for the government. Yet you are angry at the government. Yet another lie. I do not understand it. If you can, you should not be paying tax. Why should you be paying tax to a government that wants to lock you down and close down your business and take away your income. They hate you, but you still fund them. Taxes do come from the people. People, the population of a country funds the king for his luxurious lifestyle and for his control. Yet we keep on funding them. Gladly every single month we fund them. Anyway, this is South African Prepper. Just some thoughts about the craziness of the world we live in. God bless.